Hey everyone, it's been a really long time since my last video, the Animal Crossing Let's Play that I did. Sorry about that, it's just been quite hectic at work with a lot of extra hours involved supporting my department and the business that I work for. And also, the biggest update for me is that I've been able to actually go over and spend some time with my girlfriend and my son over the last 3 weeks or so. We've set up a support bubble, so I'm now able to go over there and spend time with them, which has been just incredible and amazing, and very, very much welcome because it had been a very long time. So that's come as the most welcome change in my life over the last few months, really. So just some updates really about what's been going on in my life. So the biggest thing for me is that I've played through and completed The Last of Us Part 2, which I was going to make a full review video about, but I'm not very good at reviews. So instead of doing a full review for it, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time in this video talking about how I found the game. Because there's been a lot of negativity about it, which a lot of it I don't think has been justified. And certainly some of the reactions that some fans have had to it has certainly crossed a number of lines. Literally, people have been messaging people involved in making the game, some of the actors involved in the game, some of the creators of the game, and sending death threats because they didn't like it, or wishing harm on them and people in their lives, their families, their parents, their other halves, whatever. And it's just so over the top. And if you don't like a game, if you play it and there's something about it that just doesn't click with you, that's fine, right? Nobody in history, in the entertainment industry, or any industry really, has managed to put a product out there, whatever it may be, film, video game, book, TV series, album, piece of art, whatever it may be, that everyone has loved. Nobody. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, for example, is probably one of the more popular film series out there, but there's people out there that don't like it. There's people out there that don't go to watch the new Marvel film that's coming out. And that's absolutely fine. But they don't send death threats to the people that make them. I don't understand this kind of thinking, right? There's going to be some spoilers. I'm going to talk about some spoilers for the game. So warning, if you haven't played it yet and you don't want anything spoiling, then, and you haven't read about any of this stuff online, which is probably very unlikely, click away from the video now, because I don't want to spoil things for you, basically. So Joel dies very early on in the game. He's killed by a character called Abby, who is basically going after him to get revenge on him for killing her father at the end of the last game. Her father was the doctor who was going to perform the procedure on Ellie, that would have killed her, basically, but would have created potentially a cure for this fungus zombie apocalypse thing that's going on. So she's going after him for revenge, and she gets that revenge. She kills Joel, and then Ellie goes off and goes after revenge on her for having killed Joel. Anyway, and people hated that. People were like, "Oh, it's completely destroyed the first game for me," and it's like, "How could you do that to the most beloved character in the first game?" And all this, that, and the other, and been sending the actor who plays Abby in the game, and I can't remember her name. Sorry about that, but sending her death threats for having done that. It's like she just played the character. She didn't actually do it. She just played, she did the voice for the character that committed that act in the game, which is pretty horrific, to be fair. The way that it happens, it's not pleasant to watch, and it's not something that should make you feel happy by any stretch of the imagination. But to go to the extent of sending the person who plays the character death threats for having killed that character, and wishing death on her family for having killed that character. Seriously, where do people get these ideas from that stuff like that is okay? In fact, no, in fact, they don't get the idea that it's actually okay. They don't think that what they're doing is justified. I don't believe, anyway. They're just doing it because they know there's going to be no repercussions on them for doing it. What's the worst that can happen if you send someone a death threat on Twitter? You might get blocked and banned from Twitter, in which case you can then just circumvent the whole thing, make a new account, and then go back to sending death threats. It's the most cowardly kind of behavior that I can think of, specifically on the internet, but just in general, really. The people who have been doing this are cowards, and it's just pathetic. It really is just pathetic to take things to that kind of extent. I've gotten really angry about this, and I didn't intend to, but there it is. That's how I feel about people responding to the game in that way. I didn't like the fact that they killed Joel, but having said that, I could kind of understand it to an extent, because I kind of feel like Joel's story in the first game, or that was established anyway in the first game, was kind of completed. Like, I kind of feel like if they'd have done another game in which it was Joel and Ellie out in the world again, it would have felt a bit too much like the first game, even if you were playing as Ellie. And I didn't necessarily want a game that felt exactly like the first one. The first one is always there. Nothing can take that away. And it's always something that you can go back to and play. In fact, I've got a strong temptation to actually go back and replay the first game after having played the second one. So that will always be there. And it does kind of feel like his story of redemption and well, redemption may be a strong word, but his story of, I guess, learning to love again after losing his daughter in the opening sequences of the first game. He gets to that point, and he opens himself up to caring about another human being again. And that to me is a good story arc for him. So the fact that it came to an end so early on in The Last of Us Part 2, I didn't like it necessarily, but it didn't bother me too much. And I quite like the fact that the game then focuses very much on Ellie, for at least half of it anyway, and then focuses on Abby and tells her story about why she did what she did. And I think, for me personally as well, the game does a very, very good job of kind of making you see things from her side. And it did make me empathize with her, and it did make me care about what happened to her. I think as well what they were intending to do with the game is to show that people who pursue revenge never win. Because if somebody kills someone that you care about, no matter who it is, you then go after them and kill that person, it doesn't make you feel any better. You've still lost this person that you love. It doesn't bring them back. It doesn't mend the tear in your heart. It just adds more weight to the burden that you're already carrying. And I think that's where Naughty Dog were going with the story and what they were intending to sort of tell in their story in The Last of Us 2. And in that case, for me anyway, they succeeded very much. I get that there's going to be people out there that don't like the game, that have played through it and genuinely just didn't enjoy it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But seriously, don't go to the extent of sending death threats to people who were involved in making the game. The person who played Abby didn't actually kill Joel. And I thought that that's fairly obvious to anyone, but obviously it's not fairly obvious to some people, is it really? There were a lot of things that I liked about the game as well. I loved as well all the elements, I think, from the first game that I really enjoyed were still in there, like really having to be very sort of picky and choosy about what upgrades you get and what you expend your resources that you collect on, what upgrades you get for your gun, like what you spend the supplement pill things that you get as well on. The game really does make you very picky and choosy about what you do with that stuff. And also, as well, it really, again, makes you think about how to approach certain areas of combat. As well, you have to utilize stealth. You have to be very careful and quite intelligent about how you approach various different combat encounters throughout the game. That being said, though, the game is a lot longer, I think, than the first game. And to be fair, some of the sort of combat encounters did start to feel a little bit samey. By no means is it a perfect game, but it's still a great game. I've never given a score for, or any kind of review of any type for The Last of Us. But if I was to give it a score out of, let's say, 10, I'd probably give it a 9. Whereas I think I'd probably give Last of Us Part 2 maybe an 8. 8 out of 10. I mean, that's a great score for me anyway. And honestly, all of you people out there just who haven't even played the game and are still writing bad reviews for it, get a life. Really, honestly, just get a life. Go outside, meet some people, make a friend, maybe get a girlfriend. Who knows? You know, that might improve things for you and make you a bit of a happier person. It certainly did for me. Anyway, that's The Last of Us Part 2. I'm going to shut that down there now because I don't want to spend too long on that, and I feel like I already have done. What else is new in my life? Okay, so I've gotten into a new band called The Amazing Devil. They're a kind of alt folky style band. There's some, I think, sort of Celtic influences in there in terms of the music that they play. It's fronted by Joey Beatty, who, if you don't know, he played Jaskier in the Netflix Witcher television series, and Madeline Highland as well, and I think they're involved. I think they're a couple. They've put 2 albums out so far. There's Love Run and The Horror in the Wild. I bought both albums as a digital download from Amazon. I think they're about £5 or £6 each. I think The Horror in the Wild is my favourite album overall. It's the one that I like the most songs off of. And I'd say that one of my favourite, or some of my favourite songs off the album are Fair, which is kind of become one of the songs that I associate very much with my girlfriend. You'll understand if you ever listen to it. Also, The Horror in the Wild is a great song. Marbles, another great song. An oddly named song called Welly Boots, which is another great song as well. They're just all great songs, and each one I find tells its own kind of individual story, which I love it when music does that. And it's really nice to listen to no matter what mood you're in. So it's great albums. I can't recommend them highly enough. If you like that sort of music, that kind of folk, indie, sort of alternative kind of music, then I'd highly recommend them. At the very least, go and listen to them on YouTube if you don't want to buy them, because it's definitely well worth a listen. Something upcoming, the last video that I did was the Let's Play for Animal Crossing, in which me and my girlfriend did a bit of a tour of both of our islands. Both islands have changed quite drastically since then. So coming soon, I'm not going to say as the next video, but at some point in the future there'll be kind of an updated version. Hope you've enjoyed this. Please drop me a like and share the video, subscribe if you haven't done already. That really helps me out, and I thank you very much if you've already done it. And until the next time, as I say, be good, be kind, be safe, please stay safe, take care when you're out and about, because coronavirus is still an issue, folks. Places might be opening up, people might be able to do more stuff with themselves and with their time, but it's still an issue, and it's still something that we really, really need to be careful about. Think about other people. as well, because that's important. And take care. I'll see you next time, hopefully. Bye.